Jodorowsky never says, really, that he set out to make a film. What he said he wanted to do was he wanted to change the world. And maybe his work on Dune is stronger because there's no film. He wanted to make the greatest film in the history of the world. Completely free, completely amazing, change everybody's mind. And the most perfect film is the one that exists in your head. I was searching, this was maybe 2010. So I was 2009, 2010. So now he's available. Now he's on Twitter, he writes poetry every day. Now you can reach him. But I don't think in 2009, 2010, maybe there was no Twitter. I don't even know. So I was looking on the internet saying, how can I find this person? Where does he live? Does he live in a tree somewhere? Like, I can't imagine he lives in a city. It doesn't make sense. He must live in a cave, like a mole, like a topo. So I eventually found a website in Spain of an agent, and she said that she represents all of these actors, and one of the actors was Alejandro Jodorowsky. And I said, I didn't even know that he acted in anything except for his own movies. So I said, okay. So I sent her an email and I said, is it true that you represent Alejandro Jodorowsky? Because if so, I would like to speak with him about his experience with Dune, and I would like to maybe make a documentary about it. So I sent the email, and a couple of weeks later, I open up my email, and there's a new message, but not from her, but from Alejandro Jodorowsky, which is terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying because he's like a god, right? He's like an idol. He's not a real human being. And it's also terrifying because, Jodorowsky had a dream to make Dune, and then I started to have a dream to make the documentary of Dune. So I was scared to open the email because maybe he would say, no, I'm not interested. Or maybe he would say, I'm making it already with somebody else. Or maybe he would say something that would kill my dream. So I did not want to open the email. I was too scared. So for a week, I just left it, and I pretended that he said yes, and we're going to make this movie together, and we're going to become friends. And so I kind of walked around for a week in a fantasy. And then after a week, I said, okay, I got to be an adult. I have to open this email and see what it said. And I opened it up, and it was a very short message. It just said, I understand you're looking for me. I'm happy to speak with you, but I live in Paris, and you need to come to Paris, and we need to meet face to face. So I said, okay. So I went to Paris and met him and started a relationship. But it was kind of that easy almost. It was kind of, I don't know if it's silly to say, but it was kind of maybe meant to be. You know what I mean? Like everything started to click so perfectly that that maybe it was the right time, and maybe I just contacted him at exactly the right time. I don't know.
Movies have heart, boom, boom, boom. Have mind, n'est-ce pas? Have power, have ambition. I wanted to do something like that.
My approach to Jodorowsky's work, because I'm from the United States, my knowledge is limited to his films. Because here in France, he's very well known for his movies, for his comics, for his books, for the tarot cards, for all these things. But in the US, French comics are not so popular. And people don't really know his books so much. They don't really know the tarot cards so much. So I feel like people like me, we really know him from his movies. So when I was younger, is when I was first introduced to The Holy Mountain, El Topo, all these crazy movies, but you couldn't get them. They were, Jodorowsky and his producer had a big fight. And the producer said, to hell with you, and took all of his movies and said, now no one's going to see them. And this guy tried to kill Jodorowsky's movie career. So for 20 or 30 years, the only way you could see his movies was on a videotape that was a copy of a copy of a copy, and it was horrible quality, and it probably had Japanese subtitles, and it was really, really bad. So when I first learned of his movies, they were extra mysterious. They were extra special because you couldn't get them. So they became that much cooler, really. So I knew his films, and when I learned that he was going to make Dune, that he made El Topo, then he made Holy Mountain, and then his next movie was going to be Dune. I said, Dune? That was made by David Lynch 10 years later. And then I had to research and had to read and find out all the amazing facts that are behind his Dune. But you can't really learn that much. There's not that much available, not that much information available. So you can read a little bit on a website or maybe a little bit in a book, but the only way to really get the full story was to contact Jodorowsky directly and say, I want to make a movie about it. Will you talk to me? And that's kind of how it all started.
La película debe ser tal como yo la sueño. The picture need to be exactly as I am dreaming the picture. It's a dream. Don't change my dream.
Right. Well, that's what's interesting is that, he's obviously, like you say, he's a strong personality, and he's also a movie director. And so he's a strong personality, he's a movie director, and this is his story. This is a story that's so personal to him and so important that I thought that he was always going to be sort of on my shoulder and sort of telling me, no, that's wrong, do this, do that. But if you listen to him when he speaks about Dune, he gathered his team of spiritual warriors that he calls them. He had Foss, he had Giger, Mobius, Dan O'Bannon. And when he brought them onto the project, he let them be free. He said, he was not tough with them. He said he would give them inspiration, and then he would let them be free to go create wonderful things. And that's sort of what he did with me. He was available. He would sit for interviews. He would show me artwork. He would do all those things. But he left me alone to make the movie. And he did not see the film until it was completely finished and it premiered at Cannes. That was the first time he saw it. So I think I was a little nervous. I didn't know which way it was going to go, but he really, I think, respected the process and sort of let me be free. And I think I think he works on instinct. And I think when we met, I think he just thought that I was a good person to tell this story. And I think that he saw that I was excited and passionate, and that I would tell the story with respect. That I wouldn't make it a sad story. I wouldn't make it, what's interesting to me is not, oh, it's so sad he didn't make Dune. What interests me is that how amazing the creation is. He did make the movie, and the amazing things that happened. So I think that he saw the angle that I was coming from as a positive angle, and then he just let me sort of make my movie. So.
By killing the hero near the end, you also open this way of identifying yourself. So you're not identifying yourself with a hero, a character, but you start identifying yourself also with the universal consciousness.
My approach with the other people in the film was also, again, I think it was kind of meant to be. It was kind of easy because once I spoke to Alejandro and he said, yes, we can make this movie, then I call up Chris Voss, I call up Michel Sardou, I call up Giger, and all these people love Jodorowsky so much, and they love their experience on Dune, that right away they said, yes, let's talk about it. It was a wonderful time. I would love to. 40 years I've been waiting to tell this story. Let's talk about it. So it was kind of, once the door opened with Alejandro, the door really opened for everybody. So that was pretty great. Well, luckily, all of the artwork that was made for Dune still exists. Michel Sardou was the producer, and he has, the original storyboards, which are, this big. There's a pile about this high, and each page is that big. And then those pages were photographed to be put into that, that giant book that Alejandro shows in the film. But all of those original drawings exist, and because Michel Sardou was supportive of our documentary, and when I met him, he said, "I think it's a great idea. I want to tell this story with you. I'll be your co-producer. The artwork is yours. I'll support you." And he really helped us all along the way. So once we had him, then we had all the artwork, and we had full access.
They were afraid of his imagination, they were afraid of his mind, and they were afraid what it was going to do to them. And I think that is the real reason why it never got made, because people were scared.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that Jodorowsky's Dune and Lost in La Mancha is a good double feature. I'd love to see those movies together. But I think that I feel that Terry Gilliam's Don Quixote was a failure. That he was ready to go. They were shooting. They were out there in the desert. They had their actors, they had horses, they had everything. And everything that could go wrong went wrong. From nature to heart attacks and sickness, everything was against him. And they had to stop filming. And that was the end. And I don't think that you could say that Alejandro Jodorowsky's Dune was also a failure, but you can also look at it and say it's perfect, because he never got to the failure part. He never shot. Had he shot one day and then the film died, that's a failure. But he got all the way, work, up until they were going to shoot, and then it died. So all the work is there, and it exists, and it's perfect. So it's like a success. You know what I mean? It's like Jodorowsky feels, I think if you ask Terry Gilliam, did you make Don Quixote? He'll say no. And he'll say, I still want to make it today. And he still does. He talks about it. They say he's going to do it this year. I mean, we'll see. And I think if you ask Alejandro, did you make Dune? He'll say, yes, I made it. Look at it. Here it is. All the work is done. It's ready to go. So I think that Lost in La Mancha is a film about failure. And I think that Jodorowsky's Dune is a film about the ultimate success.
I changed the end of the book, evidently. And the book is a continuation. The planet never changed. He's not awake, a cosmic consciousness. It's not a messiah, the planet. I did that.
I think it's a movie about Jodorowsky, and I think it's a movie about creation. And I don't think that you need to be familiar with, and I don't think you need to be interested in Dune or in Jodorowsky. I think I really wanted to make the movie for people who don't know what Dune is, don't know what science fiction is, don't know who Alejandro Jodorowsky is, they don't know Holy Mountain, they don't know El Topo, they come in completely blank. And when people like that come in, they love it. And because you can't help it. If you watch the movie and you don't fall in love with Alejandro Jodorowsky, then you don't have a soul. Then I'm sorry, but you're dead inside. You're dead. Because he's so incredible, he's so fantastic. But I really made the movie for people that don't know anything. Because
Dune is a messiah of the planet because it's a planet with conscience, with the same conscience of Paul. And the planet go to the universe to illuminate the other planet.
to show this film in front of an audience is the best. You know, we screened it. The world premiere was at the Cannes Film Festival, which was what an experience. I mean, it was my first time there, and the first film I saw with my own film. It was amazing, and it was so, we didn't know if the film was good. You know, you don't know if it's good until you sit in a room full of strangers, and they tell you whether it's good or not. You know whether it's good. They're either walking out the door or they're involved and invested. And during the premiere screening, at 4 different times, the audience burst out into applause. Because he would get to the end of a story, and he would get Dali, or he would get Orson Welles, or he would get, or he would get Pink Floyd, or he would go see David Lynch's Dune. He would get to the end of these stories, and the people in the audience were so invested in the story and then on the edge of their seat that they couldn't help but clap and scream. So it wasn't like watching a movie. It was almost like watching a live show.
And then I speak with all the respect because was for me was an idol. Yeah, I say, I don't want to do it. I say, I don't want any more. I say, no, man. I say to him, I will propose something. If you do the picture, even if we pay what you want as an actor, I will hire the chef of this restaurant and you will eat as here every day. And he say, I do it.
I think that's the most important thing. You know, I think that people are smart enough to know when people are honest and passionate or fake or coming from a different way. You know, I think you meet somebody who's excited to meet you, and that opens you up. You know, so I think the more, especially with movies, I mean, it's so hard to make any movie that you better be passionate about it, or else, you know, good luck. It's either not gonna happen or it's gonna be really bad. So I think that, you know, especially in this business, as you know, you have to be really passionate, because none of us are making money doing this. We do it for the love. You know, we do it because we love to tell stories and we love to do this stuff. It's just like Jodorowsky. I mean, he had the passion to get Orson Welles, to get Dali, to get all these things, Pink Floyd, all these things. And, you know, when he would meet these people, I think that they would see his passion and his love for what he was trying to create. This was a very personal story of his, which he gave me. You know, I asked him for it, and he said, yes, it's yours. And I mean, right there, that he was treating me the same way that he treated O'Bannon and Foss and Giger and Mobius, and sort of props you up, and you sit up straight, and you say, yes, I can do this. Yes, absolutely. And then you have to respect that. You know what I mean? And he gave me an amazing opportunity, and it's not something that I will ever forget, and it's not something that I will ever take for granted. You know, it's something that whatever films I make, if I get to make any more movies, whatever films I do, I only want to make films that would make him proud. You know what I mean? Because he made my career. Let's say it's a career. I don't know if it's a career. We'll see. But he gave me a chance. I went to Cannes. I'm sitting here in Lyon. Like, this is, I'm not at home in front of the TV. I'm like out talking to you, and we're gonna screen a movie that I made in a little bit. It's an amazing, amazing experience. And that's because he gave me something incredible. And I think that, and we get gifts every day from people, you know? Maybe not like that, but you know, every day, you know, you give gifts to people and they give them to you by saying things to them, by maybe physically giving them something, but maybe it's just words, and those things change people's lives.